Our Earth is a truly remarkable place. From snow-capped mountains to deep oceans, life flourishes in countless forms. But our planet's delicate balance is under threat. Global warming, caused by human activity, is changing our world at an unprecedented pace. Understanding this challenge is the first step. Together we can protect our only home for future generations. Global warming is about one thing: temperature. For thousands of years, Earth's climate was stable, allowing life and civilizations to thrive. Now, that stability is gone. The planet is running a fever, ice is melting, seas are rising, and extreme weather is everywhere. The world we once knew is being transformed by just a few degrees of warming. Global warming isn't just a problem for polar bears or future generations, it's a problem for every one of us, right now. It affects our health, safety, and the places we call home. Our food, air, and water are all at risk. No matter where we live, global warming touches every aspect of our lives. This is why it matters to us all. The greenhouse effect is a natural process that keeps Earth warm and habitable. Sunlight reaches us, the surface absorbs it, and some heat radiates back towards space. Greenhouse gases trap some of this heat like a blanket, keeping our planet at a comfortable temperature. But human activities are thickening this blanket, causing global temperatures to rise. This is the science behind global warming. For most of human history, our impact on the climate was negligible. Our numbers were small, our technologies simple. But about 250 years ago, the Industrial Revolution changed everything. Burning fossil fuels powered progress but released greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. We've tipped the natural scales, and now the consequences are all around us. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is the main greenhouse gas driving recent global warming. Its levels have jumped from 280 to over 420 parts per million since the Industrial Revolution, mostly from burning fossil fuels and deforestation. Methane, though less common, is over 80 times more potent than CO2 at trapping heat in the short term. Major sources include livestock, rice paddies, and fossil fuel extraction. Nitrous oxide, mainly from fertilizers, is about 300 times more effective at trapping heat than CO2. Fluorinated gases, used in industry and refrigeration, are entirely man-made and can be thousands of times more potent than CO2, persisting for centuries. Reducing these emissions is crucial to slowing global warming. Each gas has unique sources and impacts, but together, they're reshaping our planet's climate. Earth's carbon cycle once kept CO2 levels in balance, with plants, oceans, and soil absorbing what was released. Human activity, especially burning fossil fuels, has overwhelmed this system, adding more carbon than natural sinks can handle. Oceans now absorb a quarter of our CO2, but this causes acidification, threatening marine life like corals and shellfish. Forests, another vital carbon sink, are shrinking due to deforestation, and warming is releasing even more carbon from thawing permafrost. These changes create dangerous feedback loops, making the climate crisis worse. We're pushing Earth's systems beyond their limits, risking irreversible damage. The time to act is now. The evidence for global warming is overwhelming and comes from many sources. Direct temperature records show each of the last 4 decades has been warmer than any before since 1850. Ice cores reveal today's CO2 levels far exceed natural cycles of the past 800,000 years. Glaciers and ice sheets are shrinking, Arctic sea ice is vanishing, and snow cover is decreasing, all matching predictions of a warming world. Sea levels are rising due to melting ice and expanding seawater, while oceans are becoming more acidic from absorbing excess CO2. All these independent lines of evidence point to one conclusion: our world is warming, and human activity is the cause. The science is clear. Global warming is disrupting Earth's energy balance, fueling more frequent and intense extreme weather. Heat waves are becoming longer and deadlier, especially in cities, straining power grids and endangering vulnerable people. Warmer air holds more moisture, leading to heavier downpours and severe flooding in some regions. Other areas face worsening droughts, drying out landscapes and increasing wildfire risks. These wildfires are burning hotter and spreading faster, releasing even more carbon. Extreme weather is the new normal in our superheated world. The stakes have never been higher. The cryosphere, Earth's frozen regions, is the most visible warning sign of global warming. Glaciers are retreating rapidly, disrupting water supplies for billions and causing floods and future shortages. Greenland and Antarctica's massive ice sheets are losing hundreds of billions of tons of ice each year, raising sea levels. Arctic sea ice is shrinking in area and thickness, replaced by dark ocean that absorbs more heat, accelerating warming. This feedback loop, known as Arctic amplification, threatens global climate stability. Melting ice isn't just a distant problem, it affects us all. The changes are happening now, and they're accelerating. Our oceans are on the move, absorbing over 90% of the extra heat from greenhouse gas emissions. This has slowed atmospheric warming, but at a cost: rising sea levels. Melting ice and expanding water are reshaping coastlines, threatening millions in low-lying areas. The choices we make now will determine how high the seas rise, and how we adapt to this slow-motion disaster. Water is the lifeblood of our planet, and its constant movement between the atmosphere, oceans, and land, the water cycle, is fundamental to all life. Global warming is putting this delicate cycle under immense strain, intensifying it in some ways, and disrupting it in others. The basic physics are straightforward. A warmer world is a world with more energy and more evaporation. This means more water is being drawn up from the oceans, lakes, rivers, and soil into the atmosphere. This intensification doesn't distribute water evenly, instead it tends to make wet places wetter and dry places drier, creating a world of punishing extremes where floods and droughts become more common and more severe. In many regions, this supercharged water cycle manifests as extreme rainfall. A warmer atmosphere holding more moisture acts like a bigger bucket. When a storm system forms, it can dump this moisture in torrential downpours, leading to record-breaking floods. We're seeing this pattern play out across the globe, from the flooded cities of Europe to the deluged landscapes of Asia and North America. These events are not just about too much water, they are about too much water too quickly. The ground cannot absorb it, and rivers cannot contain it, leading to flash floods, landslides, and widespread destruction of homes, crops, and critical infrastructure, like roads and bridges. While some parts of the world are drowning, others are desperately thirsty. In many semi-arid and subtropical regions, the same atmospheric dynamics that cause downpours elsewhere are leading to longer and more intense droughts. Higher temperatures increase the rate of evaporation from the soil and plants, sucking the moisture out of the landscape. Rainfall patterns are also shifting, with some regions receiving less precipitation than they historically have. This combination creates a recipe for prolonged water scarcity, threatening the viability of agriculture, depleting reservoirs that supply drinking water to cities, and increasing competition for a dwindling resource. The very landscapes begin to change as vegetation withers and the risk of desertification grows. This disruption of the water cycle also affects the quality of our water. Intense rainfall can wash pollutants, fertilizers, and sediments from the land into rivers and lakes, contaminating our drinking water sources and leading to harmful algal blooms. During droughts, lower river flows mean that pollutants become more concentrated, further degrading water quality. The delicate balance that has provided humanity with fresh, clean water for millennia is being thrown into chaos. We are facing a future where the most vital of all resources becomes increasingly unpredictable and unreliable, a reality that will challenge the stability and prosperity of societies everywhere. Earth's ecosystems have evolved over millions of years, finely tuned to stable climate conditions. But global warming is changing these conditions faster than most species can adapt, putting immense stress on habitats worldwide. Habitats are shrinking or disappearing, forcing species into a desperate race for survival. Many are moving to cooler areas, but not all can keep up. The collapse of coral reefs threatens both marine life and the people who depend on them. The effects of global warming are not confined to the natural world. They have profound and direct consequences for human societies. Our health, our ability to grow food, and the safety of our homes are all intricately linked to the stability of our climate. As the planet continues to warm, these fundamental pillars of human well-being are coming under increasing threat. The human cost of climate change is not a future projection. It is a present-day reality for millions of people around the globe, particularly the most vulnerable who have done the least to cause the problem. The impacts are felt in our hospitals, on our farms, and in our communities. Our health is directly at risk from rising temperatures and extreme weather. More frequent and intense heat waves lead to a surge in heat-related illnesses like heat stroke and dehydration, which can be fatal. Air quality worsens as higher temperatures increase the formation of ground-level ozone, a pollutant that damages lung tissue. The smoke from larger and more frequent wildfires carries harmful particles across vast distances, triggering respiratory problems. Furthermore, a warmer world is a more hospitable world for disease-carrying vectors like mosquitoes and ticks, allowing them to expand their range and transmit illnesses like malaria, dengue fever, and Lyme disease to new populations. The global food system is also incredibly vulnerable to a changing climate. Agriculture depends on predictable weather patterns, but global warming is making them anything but. More frequent droughts can wither crops, while extreme rainfall can flood fields and destroy harvests. Shifting temperature zones are altering which crops can be grown where, forcing farmers to adapt or face ruin. In the oceans, warming and acidification are disrupting fisheries that provide essential protein for billions of people. This combination of pressures on land and at sea threatens our ability to feed a growing global population, raising the specter of food shortages and price spikes that hit the poorest communities the hardest. Finally, the very places we call home are becoming less safe. Rising sea levels and more powerful storm surges threaten to inundate coastal communities, forcing millions to abandon their homes and land. In other regions, prolonged droughts and desertification can make land uninhabitable, driving migration and conflict over scarce resources like water. The economic costs are immense, from rebuilding after extreme weather events to the loss of productivity in sectors like agriculture and tourism. This growing instability poses a significant threat to social cohesion and global security, demonstrating that climate change is far more than just an environmental issue. It is a fundamental threat to the future of human civilization. In the vast Pacific, Tuvalu's 9 low-lying atolls are deeply connected to the sea, but rising tides now threaten their very existence. The ocean that once sustained them is now their greatest threat. Homes flood, crops fail, and families are forced to adapt or leave. Tuvalu's story is a warning to the world. Those who've contributed least to climate change are paying the highest price. The Sahel, a semi-arid belt south of the Sahara, has long been a land of resilience. But today climate change is driving longer, harsher droughts, pushing communities to the brink. Crops fail, water vanishes, and families are forced to migrate. The struggle in the Sahel is a stark reminder. Climate change threatens lives, stability, and hope. In the summer of 2021, relentless rainfall caused catastrophic flooding in western Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Rivers like the Aar turned into raging torrents, sweeping away homes and infrastructure. Over 180 people lost their lives in Germany alone. The disaster revealed that even advanced nations are vulnerable to climate-fueled extremes, underscoring the urgent need for adaptation and climate action. Off Australia's coast lies the Great Barrier Reef, a vibrant underwater world visible from space and home to thousands of species. But rising ocean temperatures threaten this natural wonder, causing mass coral bleaching and turning thriving reefs into ghostly graveyards. The reef's silent transformation is a warning. Unless we act to reduce emissions, we risk losing this irreplaceable global treasure forever. California, the Golden State, is famous for its sun-drenched landscapes, from its beautiful coastlines to its majestic forests of giant sequoia and redwood trees. But in recent years, this idyllic image has been increasingly scarred by a new and terrifying reality: the era of the megafire. Wildfires have always been a natural part of California's ecology, but climate change has transformed them into a different kind of beast. They're now starting more easily, spreading more rapidly, burning more intensely, and consuming vastly larger areas than ever before. The traditional fire season has extended to become nearly year-round, bringing with it a constant sense of dread for millions of residents. The link to climate change is direct and undeniable. Decades of rising temperatures and prolonged droughts, made worse by global warming, have turned the state's forests and grasslands into a tinderbox. Millions of trees, weakened by drought and insect infestations, have died, providing a massive amount of dry fuel. When a fire starts, whether from a lightning strike or a human cause, these exceptionally dry conditions allow it to explode with terrifying speed and intensity. The fires even create their own weather systems, generating powerful winds that hurl embers miles ahead, starting new fires and making them almost impossible for firefighters to control. The human and environmental toll of these fires is staggering. In recent years, entire towns, like Paradise in 2018, have been wiped off the map in a matter of hours, with residents having only minutes to flee for their lives. Hundreds of people have died, and tens of thousands of homes and structures have been destroyed. The smoke from these massive blazes chokes the air for weeks on end, creating some of the worst air quality in the world and posing a serious health risk to millions, even those living hundreds of miles from the flames. The iconic forests, including groves of ancient giant sequoias once thought to be fire-resistant, have suffered unprecedented losses. The story of California's wildfires is, honestly, a story of a familiar natural process pushed into an extreme and destructive new state by a warming world. It's a narrative of brave firefighters battling infernos of a scale they have never seen before, and of communities living in a constant state of anxiety with go bags packed and evacuation routes planned. The fires are a harsh lesson in the consequences of living in a hotter, drier world. They show how climate change can take a natural hazard and amplify it into a recurring catastrophe, fundamentally changing the relationship between people and the landscape they call home. The Arctic, a realm of ice and snow, has been home to indigenous peoples like the Inuit for thousands of years. But as the region warms twice as fast as the rest of the planet, sea ice vanishes and permafrost thaws, threatening their way of life. The land, the culture, and the very foundations of their communities are melting away before their eyes. Food and water are the foundations of civilization, but climate change threatens both, disrupting crops and water supplies worldwide. Droughts and floods destroy harvests, while rising temperatures reduce yields of wheat, rice, and maize. Oceans, too, are under pressure. Acidification and heat waves threaten marine life and fisheries. Water scarcity is growing, putting billions at risk. Our future depends on protecting these vital resources. As our world heats up, our health faces new threats. Heat waves, air pollution, and wildfires put our bodies and lungs at risk, especially for the vulnerable. Diseases spread more easily, and mental health suffers as communities face loss and uncertainty. Climate change isn't just about the planet, it's about protecting our health, now and for the future. Our homes and cities are built on the assumption of a stable climate, but global warming is shattering that, putting millions at risk, especially in coastal communities. Rising seas and extreme weather threaten to flood homes, overwhelm defenses, and force people to leave. Cities also face deadly heat and flash floods, making some places unlivable. The danger is real and growing. The dangers of global warming extend far beyond the immediate physical impacts on our environment and health. They ripple outwards, threatening the stability of our economies and the very fabric of our societies. The The financial costs of climate change are already astronomical and are projected to grow exponentially. Every extreme weather event, whether it is a hurricane, a flood, a drought, or a wildfire, leaves behind a trail of destruction that costs billions of dollars to repair. We see this in damaged homes and infrastructure, lost crops and livestock, and disrupted supply chains that affect businesses around the world. These are not one-off costs. They are becoming a recurring and unsustainable drain on the global economy. The disruption to key economic sectors is another profound danger. Agriculture, as we have seen, is highly vulnerable, threatening food security and the livelihoods of millions of farmers. The tourism industry, which depends on natural beauty like coral reefs, ski resorts, and pristine beaches, is facing the loss of its core assets. The insurance industry is also under immense strain, as the increasing frequency and severity of disasters makes it harder and more expensive to provide coverage, potentially leaving millions of people without a financial safety net. This cascade of economic impacts can slow economic growth, increase poverty, and widen the gap between the rich and the poor. This growing economic and environmental stress can create a fertile ground for social instability and conflict. When essential resources like water and fertile land become scarce, competition over them can intensify, leading to tensions between communities and even between nations. The mass movement of people displaced by climate impacts can also place enormous pressure on the regions they move to, potentially straining social services and fueling political unrest. In this way, climate change acts as a threat multiplier, taking existing social, economic, and political problems and making them far worse, undermining peace and security on a global scale. Ultimately, global warming is a profound test of our global systems of cooperation. The problem is inherently international. The emissions from one country affect the climate of all countries. Yet the impacts are deeply unequal, with the poorest nations who have contributed the least to the problem often suffering the most. This fundamental injustice creates a major challenge for international relations. Failure to address climate change in a fair and effective way risks eroding trust between nations and undermining the very idea of a cooperative global community. The danger is that instead of uniting to face a common threat, we retreat into nationalism and conflict, making the crisis even harder to solve. Beyond the immediate dangers to human health, homes, and economies, global warming poses a threat that is, in many ways, even more profound and irreversible. We risk losing a significant portion of our planet's natural heritage, the astonishing diversity of life with which we share this world. The speed of the current warming is faster than anything seen for millions of years, and many species of plants and animals are simply unable to adapt or move quickly enough to survive. We are pushing countless species towards extinction, tearing apart the intricate web of life that has taken billions of years to evolve. This is a loss from which there is no return. Some of the world's most iconic and beloved ecosystems are on the verge of collapse. The vibrant coral reefs, the rainforests of the sea, are being bleached into ghostly graveyards by warming oceans. The mighty Amazon rainforest, the lungs of our planet, is being weakened by drought and fire, risking a tipping point where it could transform into a dry savanna. In the Arctic, the sea ice that is the foundation of an entire ecosystem is vanishing, threatening the future of polar bears, walruses, and seals. The loss of these magnificent ecosystems is not just an ecological tragedy, it is a deep spiritual and aesthetic loss for all of humanity. This wave of extinction is not just about losing charismatic animals like tigers or pandas. It is about the loss of millions of smaller, less visible species, insects, amphibians, fungi, and plants that play crucial roles in maintaining healthy ecosystems. These species are responsible for pollinating our crops, purifying our water, enriching our soil, and regulating diseases. As they disappear, the natural systems that we depend on for our own survival begin to falter and break down. We are, in essence, sawing off the branch on which we are sitting, dismantling the very life support systems of our planet in our ignorance. The danger of this great extinction is that we will be leaving behind a permanently impoverished planet for all future generations. The world will be a less beautiful, less wondrous, and less resilient place. Once a species is gone, it is gone forever. There is no way to bring back the unique genetic information and evolutionary history it contained. We are currently living through a pivotal moment in the history of life on Earth. The choices we make in the next few decades will determine how much of our planet's incredible natural heritage will survive into the future. It is a profound responsibility, and the danger of failing is the permanent loss of a world of wonders. Faced with a challenge as immense as global warming, it's easy to feel powerless. But the story of our planet is shaped by billions of individual choices, every single day. Each small, mindful action, reducing waste, repairing, reusing, or composting, creates a ripple effect. When we act, we inspire others. Never underestimate the power of one. Your choices matter. To fight global warming, we must rethink how we power our homes, travel, and eat. Simple actions like using less energy, walking or cycling, and eating more plant-based foods can shrink our carbon footprint. These changes aren't about sacrifice, but about building a smarter, healthier, and more sustainable future for everyone. While individual actions are essential, the scale of the climate crisis demands that we also work together. Our greatest strength as a species has always been our ability to cooperate and tackle challenges collectively. The fight against global warming is no different. By coming together in our local communities, we can achieve far more than we ever could alone. Community action transforms individual efforts into a powerful, unified force for change, creating solutions that are tailored to local needs and building a resilient, supportive network that can weather the challenges ahead. The journey from E to We is perhaps the most critical step we can take. Local initiatives are a fantastic way to start. This could involve organizing a community garden to grow local food, setting up a neighborhood composting scheme to reduce waste, or starting a tool-sharing library to discourage overconsumption. We can work with local schools to improve climate education and start recycling programs. We can organize community cleanup days for local parks or rivers, fostering a greater connection to our natural surroundings. These projects not only have a direct positive impact on the environment but also build strong social bonds, creating a sense of shared purpose and making our communities more vibrant and resilient places to live. We can also use our collective power to influence local businesses and institutions. Imagine a group of neighbors approaching a local supermarket to ask for less plastic packaging on their products, or for a dedicated section for locally sourced goods. Consider a community campaign to persuade the local council to install more bike lanes, improve public transport, or invest in solar panels for public buildings like libraries and community centers. When a group of citizens speaks with a unified voice, it carries far more weight than a single person. This collective pressure can encourage businesses and local governments to adopt more sustainable practices that benefit everyone. Supporting and participating in local environmental organizations is another powerful form of collective action. These groups are often on the front lines, working tirelessly to protect local ecosystems, advocate for better policies, and educate the public. By volunteering our time, donating if we are able, or simply helping to spread their message, we amplify their impact. These organizations are hubs of expertise and passion, and they provide a structured way for us to channel our energy into meaningful, effective action. Together, in our communities, we can become the change we wish to see, building a sustainable world from the neighborhood up.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can
The changes we make in our personal lives and communities are the bedrock of the movement, but they must be matched by bold, ambitious action from our leaders. The climate crisis is a systemic problem that requires systemic solutions. Governments and large corporations hold the primary levers of power to enact the rapid, large-scale transition away from fossil fuels that science tells us is necessary. Therefore, one of the most important things we can do is to become active, engaged citizens who use our voices to demand that these leaders take their responsibility seriously. Being a conscious consumer is important, but being an active citizen is crucial. We can exercise this power in many ways. At the most fundamental level, we can use our vote. We must learn about the climate policies of political candidates and parties at all levels, local, regional, and national, and support those who have credible, ambitious plans to tackle the climate crisis. We must vote for leaders who are guided by science and who are committed to investing in a clean energy future, protecting our natural world, and ensuring a just transition for affected workers and communities. Our vote is our voice in the democratic process, and we must use it to send a clear message that climate action is a top priority. Beyond the ballot box, we can make our voices heard directly. We can write letters or emails to our elected representatives, expressing our concerns and demanding stronger climate policies. We can sign petitions which demonstrate the breadth of public support for a particular action. We can join peaceful protests and climate marches, which are powerful visual displays of collective will that can capture the attention of the media and put pressure on decision makers. History has shown time and again that when enough people raise their voices together in a persistent and peaceful manner, they can change the course of history. We can also hold corporations accountable for their role in the climate crisis. As consumers, we can choose to support businesses that are genuinely committed to sustainability and transparency. We can also use our voices as shareholders, employees, and members of the public to pressure companies to set ambitious emission reduction targets, transition their business models away from fossil fuels, and stop lobbying against climate action. By demanding greater corporate responsibility, we can help shift the entire economy towards a more sustainable and equitable model. Our future depends on it, and it is a future worth fighting for. Our planet stands at a crossroads. The choices we make now will shape life on Earth for generations. One path leads to loss and chaos, the other to hope and renewal. Together we can choose a future powered by clean energy, restored nature, and shared purpose. The decision is ours. Let's fight for a thriving, balanced world, our only home. The story of climate change is not just about loss. It can be the story of a generation that saw the danger, listened to the science, and rose to the challenge. We have the knowledge, technology, and hope to build a better world. The solutions are here. The future is in our hands. Let us not waste a single moment.